start with roll call and introductions. And I don't know if everybody heard, but Ray Harris has left Department of Public Works, taken a position, I want to say Cheshire or something, with anyway, some other town. So Danny Gannon is from Simsbury Engineering, a part of the Department of Public Works, is assisting us tonight, and at least we'll do so until maybe there's a replacement for Ray. So Danny, thank you for being here. Thanks for standing in. We do not yet have a quorum. When Jamie Lucic signs on, that will give us 3. So we can't do any votes yet, but I think we could go ahead and do public audience. And that's the sort of officially the time when anybody other than a member can speak. This is a special meeting, so we have to stick to topics on the agenda. We can't freewheel it. And I'm going to invite, I'm going to quickly just introduce someone and invite her to comment if the spirit moves her on public audience. But I had a terrific call recently with Kimberly Heidinger. Kimberly had watched one of our meetings and is looking to is interested in sustainability issues. So she's showing up tonight under Jan, as these things sometimes do randomly. But Kimberly, I want to welcome you to the meeting, and if you have anything you'd like to say during public comment, feel free to do that. Otherwise, but no pressure. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I'm learning as much as I can about sustainability. I watched one of your meetings and just loved how engaged you all were. And everything that you're doing in moving forward. My husband's name is Jan, and I don't know why he's never on this computer, but for whatever reason, it decided to name me him tonight. But we are looking to open up a bistro focused on sustainability, with the 3 sort of focal points being low carbon food emissions and really every operational decision based on carbon emissions, elimination of single-use items, and also elimination of food waste or diversion of food waste. And we've been looking in the Farmington Valley area as well as West Hartford for a location. So we're just right now continuing to learn as much as we can, trying to get as involved in the communities as we can, and excited about really collaborating with everybody that we can, because I think we need to start doing as much as possible for our world we have going on here. So that's all. And I just appreciate being able to listen to everything that you all are doing in Simsbury.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Kimberly. We wish you success. We need more people trying to do the kind of stuff that you're trying to do. So, so kudos. And please, keep in touch with this group. There's a lot of resources in this team here and in the community. So I'm happy to help out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Kimberly, something? Keep in touch with us, as Mark had said, and
yeah, for sure.
And keep us of your progress with your bistro. You said
yes.
You still there?
Yes.
Yeah. Keep us abreast. We'd love to know where it is, when it's opening. We'll come and support you. Great job.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I will do.
All right. We cannot approve our minutes, but we can go ahead and do some updates from our ex officio boards. So Lydia, Board of Ed, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. I'm just going to quickly, and Mark, you can jump in, but recently Mark and I had a good meeting with Matt Curtis, Superintendent, and Neil Sullivan, Assistant Superintendent, and Mark will be presenting his at our meeting in November about the sustainability plan that he presented to Board of Selectmen. So we are looking forward to hearing about that, and hopefully we can ramp up the interest as you did with Board of Selectmen. I'm sure we can. And we also had a tentative date or a meeting with you, Jen, and with Jamie regarding food waste. So more to come on that, since you both are very active with it, and parents of squadron kids. So we had to abreast administration about what is going on. So they're very interested with that. And then they will, pull in Bonnie Anderson at some point. So we haven't forgotten about you. It's just been start of school, things going on. And it's just, this is the way things kind of move and shake. But anyway, so you will be, being reached out to by administration for a subsequent meeting and about where we're going with everything. So.
Yeah, Lydia, if you're in the loop on that, can you keep me posted as well?
Yes.
I'd love to sit in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, Mark, after your presentation in November, and of course, everyone on the Sustainability Committee is welcome to come to, it's November 12th. Correct me, Mark. Am I right in that?
I'm just confirming
I think
that.
it is.
I think that's right.
Yeah, and actually, I invite you all, you special Sustainability Committee colleagues. We are having that Board of Ed meeting at 6:30 at Latimer Lane School. So that's going to be our meeting that night. And that following Saturday, what date is that? Following Saturday, there will be an open house from like 10 or 11 to 2 for community members to come and view the school. So more to come on that open house. But I do invite you to attend if you're free to attend, or you can watch our meeting live on November 12th, Tuesday, November 12th.
So 6:30 Tuesday, November 12th at Latimer.
Yes, at Latimer. This is our first meeting at Latimer since, and so we're really excited and looking forward to it.
Hello, Jamie. Welcome. So we are now officially, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
Right, Jen. So no meeting. I think the first step, Lydia, this is your understanding, the first meeting would not include Bonnie, right?
No, not yet. It will just be a preliminary meeting, and most likely will be after our November 12th meeting because there's so much going on, but it would include, Matt Curtis and Neil Sullivan. And then, after that, we'll pull in Bonnie into that. But I think for now, to kind of get them more up to speed, and I volunteered both Jamie and Jen, since you have students there, and Meg, you see her more intimately than I do on a day-to-day sort of thing. But anyway, so I think we'll start off with that kickoff meeting and then move it to the next level.
My students have moved up, but I'm still happy to help.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Same.
Once a squadron mom, always a squadron mom. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, great. It was a really good meeting that we had with Matt and Neil, and Lydia was there. And, I think there's a genuine interest in starting to really focus on the sustainability plan, go through some of the actions, say, do we think we can do this? What would it take? Who's in the lead? What are some reasonable timeframes? So I think, and there are some things that I'm sure we'll go through and we'll say, would love to do it. Great. But, we're going to need more resources. And, but I think we are moving forward. So I think, we can talk about this later on, but I think our idea of putting together a sustainability plan, just putting down on paper what it is we think we want to do, I think, and then presenting it to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Ed, I think, is showing some signs of progress. So let's just finish the ex officio boards, and then we'll go back to the minutes. So Joe, recycling committee.
Well, the only update is, I guess, the swap shop is open 3 more Saturdays for this season. So if you have anything you're looking for, you want to drop off, stop by Saturday mornings, 9 to 2 at the transfer station, and see what treasures are waiting for you.
Or what treasures you might want to drop off.
That's right.
Isn't the rule for every home one off? Isn't that like equal rule right there?
What's that? You were breaking up.
For everyone that every item you bring home, you have to leave an item that you have at home. You can't just all of a sudden bring home 1 or 2 or 3 items and not bring something to the swap shop from your house.
Flexible. We're flexible. You can just, drop stuff off or,
No, that's my rule. That's my self-imposed rule.
Oh.
It's Lydia's rule.
Yeah.
All right. So great, thanks, Joe. So the September minutes were sent out. So I think everyone has had a chance to see them. Is there any discussion of the minutes? I can pull them up if people like, or if we've all seen them, then we could just vote on them or make any changes. Is there a motion to? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I approve.
All right, so that was a motion to
Second.
approve the minutes. Is there a second? I think I saw Joe's hand.
Yeah.
And any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Terrific. What's next? We've done the boards. So we're missing Holly. We're missing Michael. So we'll keep moving. So the next thing is our sustainability plan, our goals. So we've talked a little bit about those. I think the last meeting was right before the Board of Ed meeting, if I'm not mistaken. So we talked about, and I don't know if anybody, I didn't send them around. I should have done that. I can try to remember to send my slides around. Or I could maybe just quickly fly through them right now. It's because I think we have a relatively light agenda. It's really quick. Let me see if I can quickly pull them up. And this is basically what I would present to the Board of Ed, although I would welcome your comments.
Just as a comment, I think you did a wonderful job at the Board of Selectmen meeting. And I thought the slides were really good. I was hoping for a few more questions from the board, but I thought overall you did just an amazing job representing our sustainability plan.
Thank you, Greg. Danny, are you able to enable sharing? If you're familiar with how to do that. Yeah, that looks like it works.
There we go.
Okay, great. So here's the what we did on September 23rd. We really have been somewhat remiss in getting before the Board of Selectmen, right? It's been a while, and the Board of Ed. So I really wanted to introduce the committee, right? So sort of listed the members, what our role is. Our wonderful liaison, Kevin Beal, staff assistant to the Department of Public Works. So just want to introduce that. I had to brag about our incredible sustainability fair, right? It really was a banner day, right? And the terrific newsletter, right? We're going to talk a little bit about that again later. And then I went through really high level the sustainability vision, and then the 7 sort of aims that we have. And I pointed out, these encompass a pretty broad view of sustainability, right? Energy, waste, natural resources, economy, diverse, equitable, inclusive community, sustainable development, transportation. But I pointed out really what we are is sort of your energy and waste committee in practical terms. That's what we're doing, right? But sustainability is bigger than one committee. And each of those other topics, there are groups in this town, sometimes several, that are working on those, right? Natural resources. We've got Conservation Commission. We've got what's the one? Open space. The land trust and the watersheds. Each of these. So anyway, sustainability is a broad topic, and then we sort of went through some of the numbers of where we are and energy, and then what our actions, our proposed actions are. High level, right? And then the same thing for waste, right? And then next steps, the plan now is, we'd like the broad support for the Board of Selectmen for our vision. And then we're going to get into the details with the Board of Ed, Public Works, Board of Finance. We'll need to present it to the Board of Finance too. Sit down with the town manager, probably the planning department, probably others, but a lot of these actions will impact them. And then really come back to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Ed with another version of the plan that, hopefully we'll have some buy-in, right? And some of the things we're gonna have to take off, or we say we could do this if we had someone to manage it, or we had a grant or something. But then at that point, it should be specific, and we should have some buy-in. So that's the plan. I don't know what the timetable is. It takes a little time to get some of these meetings set up. We got Board of Ed, as we mentioned, in November. Let me make a note to get going on Board of Finance, because that's another important group. And that's it. That was the presentation. And then we had all the details from our energy plan. So I don't know if anybody looked at those, but we got lots of good. I don't know if everybody in this group has seen this, but this is from the PACE energy model, and this is where we produce an estimate of how much energy Simsbury uses. Right, in this top block, you don't need to focus on individual numbers, but it breaks down. How much electricity did Simsbury use? That comes right from the utilities, from EverSource. How much natural gas do we use? That came right from CNG. And then PACE estimates how much oil heat gets used by looking at the number of buildings. They get the grand list and look at how many buildings use oil heat and make an estimate. Same thing with electric heat and other heat. And then we get a grand list of all vehicles in town and make some assumptions about how many miles they drive and miles per gallon, and come up with these estimates of how much energy the town, and by town we mean the town of Simsbury municipality, the schools, the residents, the businesses, everything, right? And you can see, you can put some prices on that. Simsbury spends $106 million a year on energy, or over $4,000 per resident. You can't add up gallons and kilowatt hours and things, so you got to put them in common units. So we could look at gigawatt hours in electrical terms, or BTUs, or interestingly, Simsbury emits 214,000 tons of greenhouse gases a year, or over 8 tons per resident. And that's a lot. And that's what we need to work on. That's what we need to reduce. Right? Here's Simsbury's participation in the utility efficiency programs. So the upper left shows, the bars show who's gotten HES is Home Energy Solutions audit. So each year, the orange is Home Energy Solutions income eligible, lower moderate income. And then the yellow line shows what percentage of households have actually gotten used one of these residential programs, and it uses the scale on the right. So something like 37% of Simsbury households have probably got a HES audit or something like it. Mostly HES audits, you can see. And that compares to the state, we're higher than the state. The state's more like 27. Similar information for who not only took part in one of these programs, but then used a rebate to get insulation, to buy an appliance, to get HVAC. So that's what's shown here. And then the lower right is similar information for businesses and the municipality. So, headline is 37% of Simsbury households have gotten a HES audit. So we should aim to increase that significantly, right? Really, everybody. I mean, maybe really new construction is not as important, but we should try to find a way that everybody, particularly those with older houses, can make sure they get a HES audit. But here's a history of solar in Simsbury. The red is commercial, the blue is residential. This does not include the Tobacco Valley. That would that's 26 megawatts. You can see cumulatively residential, we've got just over 2, commercial just over 1. And we've done an estimate of how much we think you could fit in town, and it's much more than that. It's 22 times, so 72 megawatts. But that's something we could look at together as well. What do we think? How much do we think we could reasonably site in town? Here's our history of heat pump adoption. The red is air source heat pump ducted, and then the light blue is air source heat pump ductless, and then the green is heat pump hot water heaters. And again, we can see Simsbury's percentage is around 8% versus about 5% for the state. So we're doing okay, but a lot of upside, right? And then here's electric vehicles in town. We have something like 500 electric vehicles in town. As of January 2024, about 300, that seems high. 300 are battery electrics, and then the 200 are plug-in hybrids, both of which considered EVs. And that's just over 2.5% of registered vehicles compared to just over 1.5% for the state. So anyway, that was the whole presentation, including the appendix. I didn't go through the appendix with the Board of Ed. So that's our sustainability plan. Any questions, comments on that? All right, let's move on. Next on the agenda is PowerSmart Solar and Storage Campaign. And you will recall that our plan is to run a campaign in town to promote solar and battery storage. And we're doing that with an organization, it's confusing. The campaign's called PowerSmart. The organization is called Smart Power. We worked with Smart Power when we did a Solarize campaign in 2014. But they have done, I think, 3 rounds. We might be the 4th round of towns who have done campaigns like this. And it's somewhat like a Solarize campaign that we did 10 years ago now, where we'll try to raise awareness in town, do some public events, make it easier for people to get information about getting solar and getting battery storage. This is a program. It's been funded by grants. There's people will come in and they'll provide all kinds of marketing materials, posters and flyers, and help us run the campaign. I think we've distributed information on the campaign in prior emails. So I think since our last meeting, we've gotten officially approved into the next round of this program. Avon is doing it, so we may do some joint activities with Avon. We need to get a memorandum of understanding signed, so I've got it on my to-do list to get that before the Board of Selectmen and get that approved. It takes advantage of this program in Connecticut. I think it's called Energy Storage Solutions, which is I think it's run by the Green Bank, and it's essentially a way. It's a program of incentives. So if you want to get a battery storage, for example, there's a list of vendors that are approved that are working with this program. I think Tesla's Powerwall is still not on the list because there's something that they don't comply with. But there's a list of potential battery suppliers, and then there are incentives both up front. So when you buy the battery, you get a rebate of some kind of an incentive. And then there's ongoing incentives because essentially the utility gets to use your battery, right? You got a battery hooked up to the grid. And then if the utility has some kind of a power surge or they need to regulate voltage or something, they actually can tap into your battery. This is a terrific program, particularly when you imagine, fast forward, where we've all got batteries and maybe even using our car batteries, right? And you've got this massive distributed battery system out there that can really help offset some of the intermittency and the variability of solar and wind. So it's in its, we're still in a relatively small stage in Connecticut of implementing storage, but this program would help raise awareness in town, and it would do storage, and we'd also do solar. So, because it makes sense to do both together. It makes a lot of sense. So we need to get that memorandum of understanding signed by town manager or somebody. That's on my to-do list, and then we will probably be starting that program, I don't know, in a month or two.
Mark, what is the process? I know Avon was able to do that very quickly. What's the process of getting a memorandum of understanding from our selectman or our town manager? I mean, how does that happen?
So Tom from Public Works, Tom Roy mentioned that we need to get it in front of the Board of Ed. Avon, just the assistant town manager, took it over, I think, and had the town manager sign it, right? It's a relatively light lift for the town, and it's a low risk, I think, but Tom felt we need to get it before the Board of Selectmen. So, and I reached out to him the other day, but I think he's away. So we'll try to make that happen. I think the concern Simsbury has, and I know other towns as well, with programs like this is that the town is seen as endorsing a vendor, and somebody then gets a battery or they get solar, and then they have problems, and then they complain to the town. Well, you said these are good people, and they didn't do what they said they were going to do. So, but I think in this case, for the storage, the Greenback has already done all the vetting, right? So you can't use a vendor unless it's already approved by the Greenback. And solar, I don't think we would pick a single vendor. We might do a short list or something. So I think the Board of Selectmen is going to want to just take a look at it and make sure, because one of the things I think the program would like to do is send out a letter from the town, right? Because mailings, if they're from the town, tend to get opened a lot more than random stuff from a vendor or from, we all get a lot of junk mail, right? So there is a legitimate concern there on behalf of the town, and so we got to go through that hoop. But it shouldn't be any kind of a deal breaker. Just slowing us down a little. I hope you can all still hear me, right? I know my video is kind of frozen a lot, but can everybody still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I should just turn.
Yep, we can definitely hear you.
All right, that was our Power Smart solar storage waste update. Joe, would you like to share with us what you have on Eco-Rich?
Yeah, sure. It was a while back that I did some research on Eco-Rich. They manufacture industrial composters, and I forget where I heard about them. I think I heard about them because Stanford had deployed one or two of them at their recycling center. So I did some research. I made contact with the company, their sales executive or sales engineer. I forget what his title is, but they're very helpful and open to working with us. And they would even attend one of our meetings. We wanted to set something up. So what I did is I just put together a couple slides on what they offer. And again, this is just a presentation I'll put, cut and paste, I put together. And it's, we've been talking about, collecting food scraps, in the schools or, municipal buildings. And, we've been talking about what the town has deployed at the transfer station that means kind of a very small scale collection bin that is then picked up by Blue Earth. So it seems like that's kind of been the only solution. So, when I look at Echo Rich, okay, so then you have an appliance, a large appliance on site that creates the compost for you. So I know there's a certain cost, there's a certain cost for Blue Earth, there's a certain cost for these machines. I'm not favoring one solution over the other. I was just gathering some information on it. So I just had a couple quick slides to go through here. So let's see, let me share my screen here. Let's see. Share this. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the company Echo Rich. They're headquartered in New Jersey. And from what I gather, these units, these machines are actually made in India. But the folks I was speaking to was the US team in New Jersey. So I was speaking with Charles Newham right here. He's very responsive. Any questions we have, he gets right back to me. That's kind of the team. They offer products, that are scalable from 20 pounds to 4,000 pounds a day. And they also have add-ons, such as, conveyor belts or certain types of grinders or lifts that'll lift barrels into the machine. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of models. But basically, they break down into these two kinds here, that aerobic, which requires oxygen, and the anaerobic, which doesn't. And the anaerobic are much higher end solutions, right? They produce biogas, which then gets converted into electricity. I guess that's kind of like some of the solutions in Southington, right? With Blue Earth. I don't know if they're strictly anaerobic or if they also produce compost. I'm not sure, but I was just I zeroed in on the aerobic solutions because it, as you see down at the bottom here, it talks about a simpler solution for schools and restaurants, etc. So in the
So what is
aerobic,
that? A 24-hour option?
yeah, there's so you can put food scraps in, and if it's set for a 24-hour cycle, in 24 hours you'll have compost coming out the other end. Or you can set it to like a 14-day cycle. So, if you put in 100 pounds of food scraps, you should get out 10 pounds of compost. That's the ratio. So in this aerobic solution, they have essentially two here. They have this Elite 2 composter line, which again can do 20 pounds to 4,000 pounds. It has the 20, the shortest cycle is a 24-hour cycle. It has the add-ons that I talked about, bin loader, shredder, things like that. And then there's this Rapido composter, which is strictly a 14-day process. And it requires the addition of what they call browns, like wood chips, leaves, sawdust, every day. So it's a little more hands-on. It's a little cheaper, and it doesn't use as much electricity as the Elite 2 does. And the reduction, you only get a 60% reduction in the food waste volume. The Elite 2, you get a 90% reduction in the volume. So taking a closer look at the Elite 2, as you can see, it says, there's 13 models, okay? These are some of the base electrical requirements. When you talk about the cost, you have the cost of the unit, but then you also have an electrical hookup, and there's also an exhaust vent required for moisture because it uses heat to get the water vapor out of the food scraps. It weighs 1,300 pounds, so you might, depending on where you put it, you may need a slab or, a firm ground for it to go on. And it uses this, the word of the day here is this thermophilic bacteria, specifically Alicyclobacillus is, I guess, the specific bacteria. And the way they described it to me is when you first get the machine, they give you some of this bacteria and you put it in there, I think with some like wood chips, leaves, stuff like that initially. And then, the bacteria starts to, replicate, really, kind of become ingrained in the machine. So even if you send a load through and it spits out compost, it's going to leave a certain portion in the machine with, that still has bacteria in there. And then it's ready for the next cycle. So when I was researching this, I was like, what is this thermophilic bacteria? So this is just a little blurb on it, but amazingly, it's found in hot springs and peat bogs and deep sea hydrothermal vents. So it can really survive in high temperatures, up to 251 degrees Fahrenheit, which is amazing. Here are just a couple quick pictures of some deployments of different models. You can see, they should have a roof over them. This one on the right has stairs, and it has a barrel lifter. And then here's some of the electrical hookups. This is the venting that's required. The venting for the moisture, it's like a trickle of condensation. So it can either be vented into like a waste stack, or it can be vented out to the air. This is just some specifics on how it works. I talked about the heat. There's a heater in there, there's a fan in there, there's an auger which turns everything. At a very slow, you can see here, 2 rotates per minute. Once it completes a cycle, it goes into power saving mode. Here's some, they have a lot of videos on their website. These are just some screen grabs, some of the videos they have. You can see the auger in here. They all have these flat panel or touch panel controls. I talked about the 90 pounds of food being turned into 10 pounds of compost. Here's a couple things on shipping. It's good to have a water spigot nearby. There's a warranty, lifespan 10 years. And lastly, this is an article that was in the Stanford Advocate about the Stanford Recycling Center installing one of these. This might have been the second one. I think they got a federal grant to install a bigger, better second machine. Here's a picture of the touch screen. It looks like here they have the ER 500. And I have another picture here. This is one of the sales reps from Eco Rich. And that's it. That this is just their homepage. So there's a lot of information on their website, and I think geez, in a perfect world, if we had one of these machines, and we're collecting food scraps in schools, it would be a great way to complete the circle, for the kids, right? They see food scraps going in, and then the next day they're going around, with a wheelbarrow spreading compost that came out of the machine. So, of course, I like it better than the Blue Earth solution, where a diesel burning truck just comes and picks it up and it goes away and no one ever knows what happens to it. I kind of like this solution. But again, there's a price tag. But Stanford showed that, they were able to get a grant. It sounded like a federal grant, state grant. I'll have to look into that.
Did you say what they cost?
Well, in the Stanford, I thought they were around 10 grand plus, plus your electrical hookup, and I don't know if you need a little roof for it, or the venting, there's some ancillary costs too. But in the article, I saw 24 grand mentioned for, I think it was this machine, the big bad one. So I have a feeling it's somewhere in the 15 to 25 grand neighborhood, if I had to guess.
It is. I wonder if, probably if we were genuinely interested in buying one, they could give us some information on kind of the operating cost, and to kind of compare that. I wonder if the school had one of these, would it in the end cost less than sending it off to Blue Earth? Or, that's, as you said, that's kind of the comparison.
Yeah, exactly. You have this, it's essentially a big one-time cost. It does use some electricity. So, the other models, those Rapido models, are more require more hands-on. You got to add stuff every day, but they use less electricity. And I think, and they're cheaper than these models. But, I just wanted to gather some information on these things and just put it out there.
And Stanford's doing it. Do they know of any other towns in Connecticut doing it?
I can ask them. I'm sure they'll let me know.
Maybe we got another field trip coming up.
Yeah.
Anybody else have questions for Joe?
I mean, with just the last thing, if we were to get one, fortunate enough, I don't know where you would put it. If you'd put it at a school, would you put it at Public Works? Like, where would you put it? Oh.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, that's
the transfer.
Very interesting. I know you've been interested in this one for a while, and I appreciate your sharing this with us.
Mm-hmm. I have the contacts there, so I'll ask them if there's a closer one I could tour.
Anybody else have anything on the waste issue? I'm going to put a couple links in the chat. This one is something from Clean Water Action, which is a nonprofit in Connecticut, and they have a program called Rethink Disposable. And I was at their fall harvest meeting recently, and they talked about this, and it was pretty cool. I wonder if I can find this picture quickly. There was a bunch of products that, if we were doing here, I'll pull this up. They had a table set up so that if you're a restaurant or a school cafeteria, all kinds of reusable, non-disposable, silverware, cookware, and I know these to-go containers. Actually, was speaking with Kimberly, who's on the call, about this, and this is an interesting product. Instead of sending people home from a restaurant with these black plastic or cardboard or styrofoam clamshell things, send them with one of these. They have to either maybe have to pay a deposit, and then they can bring it back. And I've seen there are systems. The one that Kimberly mentioned to me was it's Ozzy. I don't know if you're still on, Kimberly. Feel free to pipe in, but
if you can hear me, it's the OZ. So those green containers, they're OZ. It's a company in Rhode Island, and it's a closed loop. So they make them. They are plastic. I have some samples here. They're very strong, like Tupperware containers, and they are good. They've been tested for like up to 300 washes in a dishwasher. And when they start to break down, you send them back to the company. The company grinds them back down into the raw material and then makes new containers out of them. So how I was looking at them was wherever we end up opening, and I'm hoping that restaurants in the community, they can work collaboratively together. So I know there was a couple, like in Northampton, Mass, there's a few restaurants that work together. And so a customer goes in, and the first time they pay an upcharge to take away their food, and then they can return them to any of the restaurants that are participating. And the Clean Water Fund, they provide grants for the restaurants, so the restaurants don't have to pay out of cost to get those containers. So there's no cost to the restaurants, the customers just have to buy in. But if you had all the restaurants in the community, if you could organize everyone to do it, then customers are going anywhere and they turn in a dirty container and then they get their new stuff back, and it just kind of continues the whole cycle. Right now, they're very popular at universities. So the kids in the dining hall, they go to get their food, and they have dispensers and they use tokens and things like that in the dining hall. So OZ provides tokens that people could, if they're just returning a container, then they get a token for the next time they come back as well.
Very cool. Very cool. It just breaks my heart every time I walk out of a restaurant with a plastic container. Great. One other thing I wanted to share, Joe, this sort of industrial scale composter. For anyone interested, there is a version of that anybody could get in their own kitchen, and that I'll just put a link in the chat and I'll share. And again, Kimberly knows a little bit about this, but I'll pull it up on the screen. It's called the Mill. It's a food recycler right in your home, right?
Yeah, so I have one of these because I was, trying to look at different solutions for commercial as well as residential. We had composted before. So it's a beautiful, kind of thing in your kitchen. You only have to empty it every 2 to 4 weeks. And essentially, there's lots of options of what you can do with what comes out of the mill. We're currently just kind of raking it into our yard. It's not compost, so there's no decay. It's using heat. And so it's like dehydrating and then grinding. And the good thing about the mill is you can actually put bones and eggshells and cookies, you can put baked goods in there, everything. And the mill does have a collection. We aren't doing that because we're trying to get away from anything, like that. But they collect it and donate it to farms for chicken feed. You can feed it right to chickens. And they have a great website that tells you all kinds of things you can do with it. Anyway, we love it as a solution. It doesn't stink. It's you don't have to do anything with the composting and turning it, and it doesn't make a mess. And it has very nutrient. It is very nutrient dense, obviously. So you can mix it in. You have to be careful of the pH balance, just like you probably do with your composting and reusing it. But it's a really cool appliance to have in your kitchen.
Jen, I see you put a couple links in the chat about black plastic utensils and also about Middletown. Did you want to say anything about those?
Yeah, the report on black plastics is also black plastic takeout containers. They're grinding up the recycled electric.
I think Jen froze, right?
I'm wondering if this is that solar storm that they were talking about, because I think we're all having some sort of various electronic.
Yeah,
issues.
I'm freezing up too.
Yeah,
We might see the Northern Lights tonight, right?
that is correct. That'll be the bright side of this, but I do think it's interfering with our computers in the meantime.
Well, Jen's put some interesting information. It looks like Middletown is doing a reusable container campaign, which is, so, all of these things, there's just so much we can do. And it all just kind of needs somebody stepping up and say, hey, I'm going to, help make that one happen. The other thing I just want to share is I was at, again, on the topic of waste, I was at a really exciting event the other day in Ridgefield, and got chatting with a woman from the Ridgefield race. What is it? Ridgefield. Golly, I forget what it stands for. RACE. But what they're doing on waste, what was interesting is, so they have a transfer station, and then they have a recycling station. The transfer station you pay as they have unit-based pricing. The recycling is free. And what's interesting is at the recycling, they actually compost. So I don't know if Jen is back in, and I don't know if Jen knows or if anybody knows sort of how, but they actually compost right there on site, which is kind of cool. I should have asked more about, do they have an eco-rich or do they, have a land where they're doing it? But they're one of these towns where the transfer station, something like a third of the residents use the transfer station, right? For their regular waste, right? And for Simsbury, that's basically zero, right? So you can do things when when everybody's going to the transfer station regularly that we can't. This event in Ridgefield was pretty wonderful. It was the unveiling of you see those solar canopies in the parking lot there. First of all, they had an electric school bus, which was really exciting. Gorgeous Thomas electric school bus with battery, or the sort of Thomas and Proterra. And then they had these absolutely gorgeous solar canopies over the parking lot of Ridgefield High School. Absolutely huge, massive, right? And something I think he was saying over 900 kilowatts, so almost a megawatt of solar. Just beautiful, beautiful thing, brand new. I'm drawing blank on his name. Great. There it is. Ridgefield Action Committee for the Environment. That's what I spoke to. What was I going to say? This guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name, Wayne. I'm going to reach out to him. We'll get some more information on how were they able to build those beautiful solar canopies at their high school, and he said it was done. It was no charge to the ratepayer in town. So somehow some towns are able to get these gorgeous things built, whereas every time we sort of talk about it, all we hear is that they're too expensive. But it's a beautiful, beautiful. I tell you, it was just one of those days where everybody had driven their electric car. There was a Rivian, there was a Lyric, there were all kinds of cars. There was a electric school bus parked under a solar canopy. It was like the future had arrived. Jen, I don't know if you were on when I was saying Ridgefield, they compost right there at their recycling center. Do you know how they do it?
Yeah, it's an aerated static pile. And we're Deep's funding one in Newtown. And we're hoping that other towns in the Housatonic region can bring their food to the Newtown facility, which should be big enough to support multiple communities. But you're exactly right, Mark. I couldn't agree more. Like, these towns are able to really engage folks on food waste diversion when they're actively participating in dropping their trash off at the transfer station, and that's just not Simsbury right now.
All right. So thank you, Jen. And I think that was anything else on waste. The last thing is the newsletter. I think you all saw, I hope, the October newsletter is out. Bear, do you want to say anything about the newsletter?
Sure. Yeah, I hope everyone saw the October one. Had a wonderful interview with Terry Walters on ways that people can reduce food waste at home. And then tried to highlight some of the really good practices that our 3 supermarkets are doing, and Metro Beast and Starbucks and Westminster School all use Blue Earth and do some food composting with them, diverting just tens of thousands of food waste into compost rather than sending it to Ohio, where our trash goes. So that was the October issue. I'm just finishing off the November issue right now. Susan Massino has written 4 wonderful articles. So our next issue is going to be focused on land issues. This is our first issue really on land issues. So she wrote one on the importance of wildlands and how Simsbury is recognized as one of the great spots in Connecticut for wildlands. We have one on coexisting with bears and our wonderful bears, and one on dark skies, and then one on this issue that is before our selectmen about the selling of public lands to private people, and some of the laws around that, and getting people maybe to think about that issue. So I think that's going to be the November issue.
Okay, that sounds so 4 articles by Susan Massino coming in that one?
Yep.
All right. So we had we had a wrist slap a little bit on the newsletter, because we are a sanctions committee of the town, and we were sending out the newsletter kind of from a separate email, the Simsbury Green Coalition or something, and we're not allowed to do that basically. It's at least if it is an official newsletter of the town's sustainability committee. So henceforth, these will all go through the town's email distribution list. And there were a bunch of people whose email addresses we gathered at Sustainability Fair, who we were emailing it to directly. Baird, you've given that list to Tom. Roy, Tom's going to get that into the system. So we'll want to sort of maybe follow up, make sure they all are continuing to get the newsletter. And we're going to see how this works out. I mean, the alternative is if it's just not working, sending this out through the town system, then the newsletter, as folks know, it's not just written by the sustainability committee, right? We've had, the next issue is a great case in point. So it is a sustainability coalition thing. And if it's easier and nobody's too bothered in the future, if this email system isn't working, we'll take the name Sustainability Committee off it, and it becomes a Simsbury Green Coalition newsletter that gets sent out directly. So, but we're gonna try to work through the town system first. Anything else? I've got one item, and that is, and I'm going to put a link in the, do I have the link handy? Let me get that. There is an event coming up. I'll put a link in the chat, and I'll flash it up on the screen. And that is Sustainable CT Celebration coming up November 13th, so the day after the Board of Ed meeting. It's at the Katharine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center, the Kate in Old Saybrook, which will be really cool. And they'll celebrate towns who are getting certified in sustainable CT, including climate leaders and gold. We'll have to suffer through watching West Hartford get certified as gold. But having said that, I mean, I'm going to go, and I go to these regularly. I think, Jen, you go to a lot of these. If anybody's interested, register and let me know if you're going. We could carpool. It is a, you come away from these things with some ideas and some excitement about things the towns are doing. We want to sort of keep our ties to sustainable CT going. So if you're interested in doing that, the link's in the chat. Register, and then maybe we can all ride together. Anything else? All right. So our next meeting is we have one more meeting before the November Board of Ed meeting. So we will see you on Thursday, November 7th. thank you all. And we'll see what shape our country's in on November, on that day. Keep your fingers crossed.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Good. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.
See ya.